Good morning. My name is Sri Devi. I'm from Ernakulam. I'm stays here with my family. And about my profession, I completed graduation and post-graduation in biotechnology, and I worked as a biotechnologist. Later, I worked as a medical coder till 2016. After that, I started my career as a full-time home tutor. And in 2023, I worked as a medical coding tutor. Now I'm working in Angle as a full-time home tutor. That's about me. And today I'm going to teach you a new lesson. Its name is nervous system. I think you have some idea about nervous system. Before that, I want to ask some question. Like, if a mosquito bites you, how do you know that? You know that, but how? Yes, you sense it. Okay, your brain sense it. Okay, so you can understand everything internally and externally only because of the nerves. Okay, we have the nervous system. So if you have a stomach pain, okay, you have a stomach pain, you can identify the stomach pain, where it is located, and the severity of that pain, and how you can manage that pain. These all things you can understand based on the severity and based on the reason of that stomach pain. Okay, same like that, if you are in a hot climate, you feel sweat, lethargic, you feel thirsty, so normally you drink lots of water. So that's how your nervous system responding to the that internal sorry that external environment. So from this you can understand that we are responding to everything, internally, externally, emotionally, physically. We are responding only because of this nervous system. Okay, so we are thinking, we have memory, we can do reasonings only because of our nervous system. So while we considering uh, nervous system are of two types mainly: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of what? Brain and spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord. And the peripheral nervous system, you can see these blue lines like this. These are the peripheral nervous system. Only because of this peripheral nervous system, central nervous system working properly. Okay, that means they sense the impulses and transmitting these impulses to the brain, to the central nervous system, and according to the central nervous according to that impulse, central nervous system taking some decision and passing that messages to again where? To the peripheral nervous system, to the targeted organs. Okay, so before moving to the chapter, we should know some word meanings. Stimulus. First, a stimulus have to be generated to make an impulse. So stimulus is a sudden change. Okay, stimulus means a sudden change that is recognized by our nerves, and passing that stimulus in the form of impulse to our central nervous system. So central nervous system taking some decision and some responding messages. How to respond? That message is passing to the targeted organs. So the change in organism resulting from stimulus. That means an impulse is created only because of what? That stimulus. According to the stimulus, a response is created. Okay. Next is receptors. Receptors means then receptors are the nerve cells, that nerve cells creating some impulses towards and sending towards our central nervous system. Okay, and according to that central nervous system doing some responding messages to the targeted organs. So normally what are the targeted organs? Muscles, glands, or sense organs. Okay, muscles, glands or sense organs. So according to the stimulus, these nerve cells creating the impulses and transmitting it to central nervous system. According to that central nervous system making some decision and sending some replay messages to the targeted organs. These are coming in case of effectors. Okay, so normally uh, we can say that if a mad dog runs towards you, normally what you will do, you will run. Okay, you will run. That means when you see the dog, your brain taking a decision to run from that place, so that time it creating some it creating some hormones, not creating, it's secreting some hormones. That hormones will give some more pumping actions to uh, heart, and heart pump more blood to our muscles, and muscles get heated and body gets more energy to run from that place. So that is actually fight or flight response of your body. It's only because of our nervous system. These all things happen within fraction of seconds. Okay, so you can imagine how sharp and how precise and how speedily our nervous system is working. Okay, and we some more points about the functions. Normally our sensory organs working only because of our nervous system. What are the sensory organs? Yes, eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Okay, these are the sensory organs. So our sensory organs working only with the help of what? Nervous system. And we have two kind of muscles, voluntary muscles and involuntary muscles. Voluntary muscles means we can control the action, like I'm waving my hand, I'm nodding my head, I'm talking to you. These all things controlled by myself. But there are some other actions in our body, like blinking of eyes, breathing, heartbeats, movement of colons. These all things I cannot control. Okay, these are coming under the involuntary activities. Okay, these all things, voluntary and involuntary activities, are controlled by what? Nervous system. And also in case of humans, human brains are more developed, large. That's why we have memory, we can think, we can do reasoning, we can remember all things, we have emotions. These all things are because of what? Our nervous system. Okay, so next is we have to study about the structure of neuron. The structure of neuron normally have a cell body, an axon and nerve ending. The neuron is actually called the structural and functional unit of what? Nervous system. Structural and functional unit of nervous system. Okay, so this soma is otherwise called cell body. Okay, cell body have a big nucleus, a well defined nucleus, and the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is granulated. Granulated means ribosomes, mitochondria are present, so they are granulated. So the cytoplasm is granulated, and you can see this kind of structures. These are called dendrites, and a long elongated tube like body is there, that is called axon. This axon have myelin sheath like this. This myelin sheath is present to transmit the impulses very fastly. If the myelin is not there, the impulse will transmit very sluggish way. So this is myelin sheath which is present around the axon, and the myelin sheaths have Schwann cells. The Schwann cells also supporting the myelin sheath to transmit the impulse very fast. And the nerve endings have bulb-like projections. These bulb-like projections have some chemicals called neurotransmitters which help to transmit the impulse very fastly. Okay, next is about the synapse. You can see this is one neuron, this is another neuron. Here it is the nerve ending and here the dendrites. So these are connecting, the neurons are connecting like this, like a chain. Every neurons nerve ending and other second neurons, the other neurons dendrites are connected to each other. Okay, that connection area is called synapse. That connection area is called what? Synapse. And there is that connection area, but you can see a gap. You can see a gap. That gap is called synaptic cleft. The gap is called synaptic cleft. Okay. And that synaptic cleft is held for the transmission of impulses. Who help to transmission of impulses? Yes, the small vesicles which contain neurotransmitter. A neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. Here we can mention the name acetylcholine is one of the neurotransmitter help to impulse transmission. This is the actual picture of synapse. You can see the presynaptic neuron and the postsynaptic neuron. So presynaptic neuron means this is the nerve ending. This is actually nerve ending, and this is the dendrite. This is the dendrite area. This is dendrite end, this thing. So these two are not connected. Here you can see a gap. This gap is called synaptic cleft, and here you can see the neurotransmitters which are passing to the synaptic cleft, and here you can see some voltage gated channels receiving that neurotransmitters. Okay, like this every messages are passing to the brain, and this is not a long time process. It's a very fast, within fraction of seconds these things happen, but while we teaching these things we have to say in a lengthy way. Okay, and next is about reflex action. Reflex action means while there is a stimulus happens, an impulse is created and it is identified by the CNS, and CNS giving a reply impulse to the targeted organs. So these things are collectively called reflex action. These are involuntary actions actually, and these involuntary actions happening because of the stimulus and impulse creations. Okay, and normally the peripheral nervous system and spinal cord are controlling this reflex action, that we know. Only CNS cannot do the things well, means they can make decision but they cannot control, means they cannot do all things, because the nerve endings, we have the nerve endings at the finger areas and at the toe areas. So to reach that area peripheral nervous system is needed. Okay, so peripheral nervous system and spinal cord are controlling what? Reflex actions. Okay, normally a reflex action have a path. That path is actually called reflex arc. Okay, that is actually called reflex arc. And the reflex arc, that already we mentioned that path. Again I want to say that a stimulus is created. Okay, a stimulus is created, receptor sense that that stimulus, and impulses are created by the nerve cells. and here afferent nerve fibers are involved to transmit the message to the central nervous system. Okay, and the central nervous system again creating some reply impulses to the targeted organ, and they are passing with the help of efferent nerve fiber. Okay, afferent nerve fiber from organ to CNS. Afferent nerve fiber from CNS to targeted organs. Targeted organs is passing with the help of efferent nerve fiber, that is motor neuron. Okay. And we can say some examples for the reflex arc, like we drawing while we touching cold or hot object, especially hot object. We drawing the hand very fastly, and while we in a dark room, our eyes pupil is dilated more, and while we looking at a light area or a light, our pupils dilate very small. So these all things are related to our nervous system action, our reflex action. Okay, next we have to say about the divisions of nervous system. Normally we told that we have CNS, that's the main nervous system. CNS have two parts, brain and spinal cord, that already we told. And while we considering brain as an organ, brain is encapsulated in what? In cranium. Cranium is a bone covering, otherwise it is called skull, and have three membranes. Three membranes are there under the cranium. Three membranes are there. These three membranes are called meninges. Okay, these are called meninges, and this meninges protecting the brain very well. If any infections happen to this meninges, it is called meningitis. Itis means, here you can see the word itis. Itis means infection. Normally if an external agent enter into brain, if it penetrate meninges, it can create meningitis. Okay, normally it happens in case of head injuries or through any microorganisms like amoeba. Okay, and as fluid is present in brain and spinal cord, that is called cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, cerebrospinal fluid, which is present in between the layers in the spinal cord, and also central space of brain. Central space of brain means this central space of brain, you can see this cerebrospinal fluid. And while we consider the sections or the regions, we have, our brain have three regions. How many regions? Three regions, that are forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Okay, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. And the forebrain, which consists what? Cerebrum. Actually, when we considering our brain, it is two hemisphere. Hemisphere means if a circle is made into two parts, one part is called one hemisphere. Hemi means half. Okay, so hemi means half. Our brain is two hemispheres, and it is connected by corpus callosum. Okay, it is connected by corpus callosum, and the outer area, this outer area is grey in color, and this inner area is white in color. This outer area is called what? Outer cortex. This is called outer cortex, and the inner area is called inner medulla. Inner medulla, and this area have this the outer area is grey color because it contains cell bodies. Neuron cell bodies means it contains neurons, dendrites and unmyelinated axons. Here the axons are unmyelinated. Here also neurons are there and the axons are unmyelinated. That's why it is grey in color. But that's not in case of inner medulla. Inner medulla contain myelinated axons, axon bundles which are myelinated. That's why it is white in color. That's why it is white in color. So this area is called grey matter and this area is called white matter. Grey matter and white matter. Here you can see that grey matter and white matter. Okay, the inner area is white and the outer area is grey because grey area contain unmyelinated axons. White area contain myelinated axons. Okay, and about cerebellum. Cerebellum is located at the hindbrain. Is located at the hindbrain, the back of brain, and cerebellum located at the base. And cerebellum have major role in motor control and cognitive function. Motor control and cognitive function. Motor control means voluntary and involuntary actions, and cognitive means our brain's capacity to give attention to something, to learn new languages, to do the reasoning and emotional controls. That all things are under control of cerebellum. And cerebellum have numerous furrows. Furrows means small depressions like this. Like this, small depressions you can see, small depressions like this. This is called furrows. Okay, and that's about cerebellum. Next is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata you can see here, medulla oblongata. This area, this is roughly triangular or a cylindrical kind of, not cylindrical actually, ovular kind of structure. It is the continuation of spinal cord. Medulla oblongata is the continuation of spinal cord. It is also the part of hindbrain, and if any injury happens in the medulla oblongata which leads to death of a person, that's why people telling that don't beat on the back of neck, because the medulla oblongata is so sensitive area. If the area have any injury, the person will die or the person will be in a coma stage. Okay, that's about medulla oblongata. So we almost completed the brain parts, and next is about the spinal cord. Okay, spinal cord you can see in this picture. Spinal cord is the continuation of what? Brain. It is going through a canal kind of structure. Here you can see the canal kind of structure. Okay, the spinal cord is passing. You can see in this picture the spinal cord is passing through this canal. Okay, and the vertebrae are there. The vertebrae are there. In between that vertebrae, the peripheral nervous system are passing. Okay, we have some limitations while we showing in a picture. If you try to see animated videos, you can see it clearly. Okay, so spinal cord which extends from medulla oblongata. I already told that medulla oblongata is located as an extension of spinal cord, and almost the whole length of backbone. Spinal cord and spinal cord length is almost at the length of backbone and ends at the second lumbar vertebrae. Here we can see this is this area. This is the second lumbar vertebrae. This area. This is actually called second lumbar vertebrae area. That till that area, the spinal cord extends, and here also you can see the gray matter and white matter. The gray matter in the inner side. If this is a canal, this is the inner side. The spinal cord is passing. This inner side is gray. This inner side is gray, and the outer side is white. Okay, and the spinal cord normally responsible for all reflex actions below neck. Whatever reflex actions happen below neck, spinal cord is responsible. That's why if anything happens to spinal cord, the body will get paralyzed. Okay, and the sensory impulses from skin and muscles are passing to brain with the help of what? Spinal cord. From skin, our skin, to skin and muscles. Our skin and muscles, that all impulses are created passing into the brain only with the help of spinal cord. And motor responses from brain to muscle. From brain to muscle. Muscle of trunk and limbs. Limbs means our hands and legs. So the motor responses from brain to our trunk. This is the trunk area. Trunk means the this upper area, the chest and abdomen area. This area and the upper and lower limbs. So the messages from brain to trunk and limb areas are conducted by what? The spinal cord. Next is next we already told about peripheral nervous system, which is one of the major part of nervous system. The central nervous system working with the help of peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system passing messages from external environment, from the especially from the limbs to the brain, to the central nervous system. So they normally they help to carry all impulses to the central nervous system. And when we consider the somatic nervous system, the somatic system made up of 12 pair of cranial nerves and 31 pair of spinal nerves. Cranial nerves means the nerves emerging from the cranium. Cranium means brain. Okay, the cranial nerves which is emerging from the brain, and the spinal nerves originate from the dorsal and ventral roots of spinal cord. Dorsal and ventral roots means in this picture you can see the from this vertebrae, from the spine, these spinal areas, the nerves are emerging to everywhere, to the limbs, to the dorsal areas, to the frontal areas, to the lower limbs, to everywhere the nerves are emerging from the spinal cord through the vertebra. So this is what they mentioning here. So this is about the spinal cord. Okay, so from this you can understand that spinal cord is very important for conducting messages to the central nervous system and from central nervous system to targeted areas, because the spinal cord is associated with what? Peripheral nervous system. Okay, so in this chapter you can understand the basics of nervous system. Okay, so the basics of nervous system. If you have any doubts, you can ask at any time. And uh, if you have um, doubts, you don't hesitate to ask. You don't feel to hesitate to ask the doubts. I will always there to clear the doubts. Okay, so thank you for your time. I will catch you next day, same time. Okay, so thank you.